do it live.
From the director of Top Gun and Beverly Hills Cop 2.
Hello, baby!
Clarence? I'm a married man, buddy.
A con man.
Ask him if he got the letter.
Did you get the letter?
What letter?
He wants to talk to you.
No time. Tell him we gotta go.
A call girl.
You call for a date?
Huh?
I'm out of that.
She a 4-alarm fire or what?
She seems very nice.
What are you doing in L.A. anyway, huh?
And a suitcase full of trouble.
Put him down! Put him down! Put him down!
Christian Slater. Patricia Arquette. Dennis Hopper. Val Kilmer. Gary Oldman. Brad Pitt. Christopher Walken. True Romance.
Well, hey everybody, welcome to the lounge. Here we are. We got another movie Maria missed called True Romance.
Yes.
How was your week so far?
My week so far has been good. I mean,
Okay.
You know, it's summer. I got buckets of time.
Buckets of time to make another summer drink. So what is the summer drink for today?
This is it's called the Triple Berry Fizz, and it's 3/4 of an ounce of lime juice, 1/2 ounce of simple syrup, 1.5 ounces of vodka, sparkling water, and then just blueberries and strawberries.
It looks very artistic.
It's very,
it's blueberries dropping.
Yeah.
Why don't you hold it up to that camera there?
That
See it? That camera? Go ahead,
okay.
hold that up. Nice. All right.
There you go.
So that is another summer drink.
Yes, it is another summer drink.
Beautiful. I can't wait
Yes.
to. Are we going to run out of summer drinks or what?
I don't know. I mean, I've been looking them up, you know, and I just found out that you did not know that Crushes were Maryland drinks.
I did not know that.
So definitely a Crushes on its way.
Made in Maryland.
Yes.
Invented in Maryland.
Invented
What else?
in
You said there was
Maryland.
something else invented in Maryland.
Well, not really invented in Maryland, but we think we own blue crabs
Well,
too. You know,
crabs,
the
I knew
crabs,
that one.
Crushes, crabs,
Yeah.
Crushes.
I knew about
Those are
the
big
crab thing. I didn't know about the crush thing.
Yeah.
So, all right. Well, I am drinking cranberry juice tonight.
Nice.
It's a natural diuretic, as you know. So for women on their period, you know what I'm saying? If you've ever seen The Departed. All right. So we watched True Romance, which you haven't seen, obviously.
No, I had not.
Directed by Tony Scott. Written by
Quentin
Tarantino. Starring Patricia Arquette and
Christian Slater.
Christian Slater, thank you. Many others. Christopher Walken, Dennis Hopper, James Gandolfini, Brad Pitt, Gary Oldman, Michael Rappaport. I mean, it had a slew of actors who, the last show, I like him. Oh, I like her. I like him. I like him.
I know.
I like him. Did you like the movie?
I did actually.
Oh, you did?
I enjoyed the movie. It was a very, Was it
because it was romantic?
No, because it wasn't really romantic,
No, it
like
wasn't.
in traditional rom-coms kind of sense. But I did like the movie. I mean, it was good.
Okay.
You know, it was Quentin Tarantino. Even though he didn't direct it, he wrote it. And
I was just reading before this little research that everybody can do on IMDb. I'm not saying I'm doing anything extra, but it was his Roger Avery was his partner. I think they were in that video store together. Roger Avery actually wrote a outline of what a road story would be.
Right.
Gave it to Quentin to kind of, write it up a little bit.
Right.
Quentin comes back with a 500-page outline,
Right.
or book or movie or whatever that became bits and pieces of this film and Natural Born Killers.
Okay.
Okay. He's cross-pollinated, so the characters in this film, Alabama, played by Patricia Arquette.
Right.
The producer, Dershowitz, I think is his name in the film. Saul Rubinek playing the producer.
Right.
That is the grandson of one of the characters in Inglourious Bastards.
Oh, okay.
He's got these. He cross-pollinates all the time.
Oh, I didn't
it's
realize
always,
that.
Yeah, so
I didn't know
it's
all
fun.
that.
Yeah. So, but I mean, you like Pulp Fiction,
Right.
I wouldn't say you've watched all of Tarantino's, but So the plot of this film. Do you want to do the plot? Would you like me to do the plot?
You could do the plot.
You sure?
Yeah, because
I'd like to
never
hear your version of the plot. I want you to do the plot. Tell me your version, and then I will.
And then you'll fill in my holes.
I'll fill in the holes, so to speak.
So the plot is that Christian Slater is this kind of just an everyday guy who works in a comic store. And he goes out and he loves movies, goes and watch movies, whatever. So goes to see this movie, Patricia Arquette. Yes, Patricia Arquette. I couldn't remember
Playing
which Arquette.
Alabama.
Playing Alabama. Ends up spilling her popcorn on him.
Meet cute, very meet cute.
Yes, a meet cute. So whatever. So then they end up sleeping together, having this wonderful night.
He brings her to a comic book store.
He brings her
Yep.
to the comic book store, and then.
Did you forget that? Or?
No, I
I'm
didn't.
interrupting. Okay.
Yeah. It's okay.
I understand.
It's okay. So they end up spending the night together, having a wild night of sex, enjoying each other. Then she lays the truth on him that she was actually hired to be with him, but she's now in love with him. He loves her. They go get married. But she refers to herself as a call girl.
Right.
She's a sex worker, so she refers to herself as a call girl. So he goes to get her stuff from her pimp, and
Played by
Gary Oldman, who was
white guy thinks he's black,
yes, it's
which
very
is why he
weird.
took the part.
Right, and so then he goes to get all sorts of things ensue there. There's a shootout. In the end, he goes, just give me Alabama stuff. He grabs the suitcase. Turns out it's a suitcase of cocaine.
Right.
So then they go on this road trip across to his friends to try to sell it. Then,
In California.
In
He's
California.
got an actor friend in California, yeah.
So he tries to sell it.
His idea is just to sell it outright, get rid of it, $200,000.
Right,
he's
which
gonna
was
sell it for.
hilarious.
It's pure cocaine, so whoever
Right.
buys it can cut it up and make as much money as they want. You skipped one little point, which is fine because we can talk about it. But his father used to be a cop, so he hasn't seen his father, Dennis Hopper, in 3 years. Decides to stop in to see him, ask him if anybody at the police station has heard about this shooting that happened and this cocaine.
Right.
His father says no. The coast seems clear. They go off to California. So the whole movie's about, and the cocaine ultimately was owned by the mob.
Right.
The Sicilian mob, turns out, in
Right.
Detroit,
Right.
which I guess is a thing. Okay, so what happens in California?
Okay. So they're in California, and they decide to sell to they know this producer. Their friend is in acting class with some
Elliot,
with the
Elliot
assistant.
is in acting class.
Yeah, with the assistant to the producer.
Yeah. No, Elliot was the assistant to the producer was Elliot.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's where Brad Pitt is
Bronson Pinchot.
Yeah, Bronson Pinchot is the assistant to the
Right.
producer. Brad Pitt is the stoner.
Stoner.
Just
that's
the
his only
roommate
part.
stoner.
You're right.
Which was hilarious.
Yeah.
I liked his
Yeah.
part and everything. So they go, they set everything up to sell to this
Super producer.
and kind of all the worlds collide then. They go to sell to the super producer, the mob shows up, the FBI shows up.
Yeah. So Elliot is the assistant to the producer. He's talking to what was Christian Slater's name? Clarence, because she says,
yeah.
you're cool, Clarence.
Yeah.
Okay. So Clarence also fantasizes about Elvis. We didn't mention Val Kilmer.
Oh, that's true.
Has a bit part playing
Elvis.
what Clarence imagines is Elvis. He's giving him advice through the film.
Yeah.
Right.
Like Elvis is like his alter ego almost.
Alter ego.
Yeah.
So they hook up with Elliot, who's the go-between to the producer. And Elliot says, well, the one thing we need is we need a bag to test it, see if we want to do it. Well, Elliot gets caught with that bag speeding in a Porsche while some woman's, giving him whatever happened, and the bag ends up all in his face. The cops get him. So now these two cops, Chris Penn and Tom Sizemore, play these detectives who now have this Elliot that's their way to go after this big producer who they think is going to get the cocaine, and they're right about it. So they get this guy Elliot to go undercover.
Right, but they think that it's a bad cop. That's
Right.
where they got
They think they're
because
going
it's
to a bad cop.
uncut cocaine.
Right.
They think
Well,
it came from a bad
Clarence's
cop.
story was a cop gave them the
Right.
cop took it out of the evidence thing and gave
Right.
it to them, and he just wants it off his hands. He
Right.
wants to sell it. So these cops think they're going after another dirty,
Yeah.
and that their sergeant, their guy says, well, if it's a dirty cop, we have to go after. And it turns out they're going after the producer. They find
Right.
that out down the road. So yes, everybody comes into this situation, but it's populated or it's punctuated with some pretty intense scenes that relate to the violence around the cocaine. The first one being Clarence shooting Drexel, who Gary Oldman playing the white pimp. The second one being the enforcer, played by
Walken.
thank you.
Christopher Walken.
It's amazing how I go blank. Christopher Walken playing a Sicilian enforcer who's interrogating Dennis Hopper.
Right.
One of, and I think Tarantino still calls it one of his favorite scenes he ever wrote. And the way Walken and Dennis Hopper went at this, it's just one of those classic scenes. If you've seen the film, you know the scene. They get into the whole Sicilian, where the
How you can tell a lie.
how you can tell a lie, the 17 ticks, and then the story Dennis Hopper. Now, I'm reading a book. I'm actually listening to a book by Quentin Tarantino
Right.
about him growing up watching movies and
Right.
his take on certain movies. And I didn't realize he was growing up in the black community. It's amazing the amount of films he went to. So this Sicilian story that is in this film, he was told as a young kid by one of his boyfriends of his mother, African-American boyfriend, gave him the story about how Sicilians became dark-skinned. And if you've seen the
Right.
film, you know what I'm talking
Right.
about. So Quentin has this deep, deep, deep love of both that kind of stuff and blaxploitation films.
Right.
So you can see that all in his stuff now. As I'm reading this, listening to this book, it's amazing how all this stuff comes out in his films. And this one is a definite direct line to his childhood, which I found amazing. So you have that great scene. And then they get to California, and James Gandolfini, who hasn't been in, I don't believe he's in The Sopranos at this point. I think this is 93. I think The Sopranos came out in 99,
Yeah.
right? So it's not James Gandolfini.
Because he looked younger.
Yeah, very much younger. And he's playing a hitman. And he has this brutal scene with her in Alabama in a hotel room, which you were, as we'll see in the the thing, you were like, that's where you had reactions
Yeah.
like I don't normally see you do. and you were rooting for her.
Yeah.
And I think the last thing you said is, ooh, tough girl or something, tough chick. I forget what you said. And so this thing is punctuated with these very high intense, including the gunfight at the end when everybody comes together. And pretty much everyone gets killed except for Clarence. Michael Rappaport runs out and Alabama. They end up on an island or
Not
beach
Michael
or something.
Rappaport.
He runs out.
He runs out. Oh, I
Yeah,
thought
he
he
didn't get
got
killed.
shot.
No,
Okay.
he got out. He got out. So it's a violent film.
Right.
And I wasn't sure how you were going to react to that violence. And I think you reacted fine. I think you enjoyed. I mean, I'm not saying you enjoyed the violence. But
No.
you enjoyed the context
Right.
that it was in the film.
Right. It
So-
was contextual.
It was contextual.
Yeah. It was.
Do you have a favorite scene?
You always ask me
I
that.
have.
always
You got to think
I
about
have
this
to,
now.
Think about that.
You've done enough of these now. You know what I'm going to ask.
I know. And it's like
Yeah.
that hard thing for me to think about.
For me, it's the Sicilian scene.
The Sicilian
Dennis
scene
Hopper.
with Dennis Hopper. I really liked Patricia Arquette in this. I really did. It's young and early her, and I think one of my favorite scenes was just the innocent scene of them in the coffee shop, like after the movie, where they're
When
just
he's
kind
asking
of
her the questions.
Yeah, he's asking her questions, and she's sort of answering. And then, when they come out of the movie, and she's pretending like it was a kung fu kind of like movie that they had seen, so she was like kicking at him and stuff. I just thought that kind of showed their kind of innocence in a little bit before all
Everything
the
went down.
violence started.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so the quibbles I have. So that's your favorite scene. Out of the group. Okay. They fell in love quick.
Of course.
I mean, it's a movie. I got to suspend my disbelief and all that. And the fact that he immediately he's in love with her and he's
Right.
deciding he's going to go shoot people for her, which he did, So I just found that. How did you feel about that aspect? The fact that it was so quick and he turned,
Well, I thought there was two things I thought about the movie. One is when they showed the comic shop, and then I started looking back at some of the scenes they'd already had and some of the scenes they had throughout. I was like, well, those are comic book scenes. Like
You kept saying that.
the scene where she's on and they're right in front of that billboard and she's sitting there. That's a comic book thing. The soda shop, that's a comic book thing where people are sitting around the soda shop talking. So I was like, and then the other part of it is it's a romance. It's true romance, but it's like a Harlequin romance. So he was going, I don't think he went knowing that he could possibly have to shoot someone, but he didn't go there with the intention to shoot him.
Well, he did hand him the envelope and said, here's the money I'm going to give you. It's
Right.
all you're going to get.
Right.
And the envelope was empty.
Right.
So he had some intent.
Right.
I got to believe he had intent to. I don't think he wanted to go down the way it went down, but he knew he was going to piss somebody off.
Right.
Maybe he just did. I
don't think he knew, because of who he was and the life he was living, I don't think he knew the magnitude of what he had walked into. I don't think he understood that.
Well, obviously, I think he left his license. I mean, his license ended
Yeah,
up
he
there,
left
which is
his
how they
license
found him.
there, yeah.
And that was an early. Samuel L. Jackson was in this scene for 2 seconds. He comes in. I'm like, oh, that's Sam Jackson. I forgot he was in this. Boom, he was shot.
And then he was dead.
Great conversation they
Yeah.
were having before he got shot. I
Yeah.
just love that stuff. Yeah, so it's punctuated. Like I said, I keep saying punctuated, but it did jump to these scenes that were just monumental as far as what was going on. Now, I don't know how much. I was reading also that Quentin wasn't on the set at all.
Right.
I don't know how happy he was with the final outcome of the film. He may have been fine. I know he wasn't happy with Natural Born Killers. I'm not sure his reaction on this one. Although he and Tony Scott have a great relationship. And, you know, he's constantly talking about his films, Tony's films, and you know, when Tony was alive, I'm sure vice versa.
Right.
So the comic book thing you kept bringing up, and they do that scene
Yeah.
in the comic book store where he
Right.
specifically points out it. Look at the colors. Look at the way they're
Right.
doing this. And this film was very colorful,
Right.
bright. Her costuming was,
Right.
you know, was just in your face. His shirts that he's wearing and
Yeah.
all that stuff. So yeah, I would probably agree with you that this is it's a comic book fairy tale kind of deal.
Right. And it was like a meshing of that and like a Harlequin romance with
Yeah.
the.
And the fact that he's imagining that Elvis,
Yeah.
I mean, Elvis is the theme through the whole thing for him. He's constantly talking about Elvis, grabbing people at hamburger stands in L.A. and showing them Time magazines, and
And he had the Elvis sunglasses.
he had the glasses, and the horseshoe ring was their
and
wedding ring.
The wedding ring and the car. He had the purple
Right.
Cadillac.
Right, which Patricia Arquette, that was a gift she was given.
Oh, was she given
Tony
that?
Scott gave her that car
Oh,
at the end of the
nice.
shoot. Isn't that nice?
Oh, I would have
That's
liked
lovely. Yeah,
that.
who wouldn't? All right, so that's the one. The one scene. Any other scenes that stand out that you
Any other scenes stand out?
like?
I mean, I thought that the scenes, I don't know, like the violent scenes, no, they are just so violent.
Yeah,
that,
but they were not like.
But they
it's
didn't,
amazing how
like-
much no blood.
right.
I mean,
Well,
there's squibs,
there's
a couple
little
of
bit
squibs
bloods,
here and there, but you
it
didn't see
wasn't
any
too
bullet.
bad. No.
I guess in the hotel scene that was
Right.
probably the most.
Yeah, the end when everybody's
in the
there
hotel.
shooting at
And the-
everybody,
and the
it's
pillow
just
feathers are floating.
yeah, and everything's going somewhere. But no, like a lot of the scenes, like there's, I don't know, because I guess I like the story, so I'm more about the story of it all.
Okay, but so you bought the story then?
I didn't buy it. Just
Did you-
because I liked it doesn't mean I bought it. It means that I thought the story was a good story.
Okay.
It's not a story. It's totally unbelievable to
Right.
me. You've got to completely suspend your rational mind. If you think you have sex with somebody and you get married, get your names tattooed on each other.
Oh yeah, they did
And
that too.
go and live happily ever after.
That
which
scene
is the way
was
it was.
funny. The tattoo scene.
The tattoo scene is
because
funny.
they had her sweating in that. They got
Yeah.
her. It's not naked or anything,
Yeah.
but they're definitely playing with her sexuality
Yeah.
because the scene was hot and
Yeah.
she's sweating and all you see is him pull up his shirt to look at the one thing and they gazed at her a little bit. Everybody was talking about how beautiful she is and she's giggling through the whole thing. Even when Gandolfini is beating the shit out of her in the hotel room,
Right.
she's still pulling. No, a normal human being would have been dead within
Right.
2 seconds of everything going on. So that's what I mean. A comic book fairy tale,
Right.
whatever. Nobody could survive what the hell
Right.
is going on. She gets thrown through a glass shower.
Right.
And nothing, no cuts, no bruise, nothing. So that's, you spend that disbelief, but that's
Right.
okay. That's okay. Because it's like you said, it's a comic book fairy tale.
Right.
Well, okay. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to go over and over and over the plot because everybody if they're watching this show, the few of you, maybe 70 or something, be nice if we had a few more. Everybody knows the plot of this film. I just want to get your take. I like to get your take on, like, again, these films you haven't seen. I'm hoping we spin some of the classics,
Right.
like Citizen Kane and Casablanca, and like I said, Some Like It Hot. I really want to get your reaction on those because these are all pretty contemporary and they're all movies that I definitely love.
Right.
But I just kind of want to, I don't know what else we can add from your perspective that, 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 is relevant. I mean, it's kind of,
Well,
is,
it was-
I mean, I could go on and on and on about
Right.
it, the writing, Tarantino, the connections in all his films, but
Well,
just
and
from a straight,
it's funny because you talk about all the movies that he like saw and that you can see pieces of in there. And it's funny because when I think of him, like when I was talking to you about Pulp Fiction, I think about the books that they're based on, not
Right.
the movies. Like, so my, like my first reaction was, oh, it looks like a comic book. Oh, true romance. This is the way a romantic novel, plots itself. It's totally ridiculous. And the fact that they end up, in Mexico on $200,000,
Yeah, it's not that much when
They're
you think about it.
I know, with
It's
a
not that
little
much,
kid,
right.
and everything. It's just I don't have the movie references for it, so
that's
I
true.
have-
See, that is why this is both tough and fascinating, I think, because you're right. You don't have all the movie references that we all bring to the table for this, and
Right.
especially if I've been watching Tarantino films, all the connections.
Mm-hmm.
The glasses that he wears ended up in Kill Bill. The Elvis glasses.
The
that
Elvis
he wears are in
glasses.
Kill Bill. This is all stuff that I'm reading.
Yeah.
But yeah, having the baseline of Tarantino's book
Mm-hmm.
is really first thing. The other thing it's doing is it makes me want to buy all the movies he's talking about. 'Cause
Right.
He's got the knowledge is unbelievable. And it really makes me appreciate these other films that he's been talking about. And he doesn't talk about his own films in this book. It's all stuff that he grew up watching.
Mm-hmm.
And he talks about how he saw an actor in this one film that he ended up using in Jackie Brown, Robert
Right.
Forrester. He saw in the movie Alligator and remembered how good he was in Alligator and thought the character in Jackie Brown would be perfect for this guy, and he ends up putting him in the movie. So I just love that stuff. All right, so what's the rating then?
What's the rating? I'm gonna give this one a 3.5.
3.5.
Yeah.
3.5.
It was good. It was good.
Yeah.
It's there are parts of it that are very dated that kind of like some of the language does I did cringe at.
Yeah.
And
Why'd you cringe at the language? Oh, well, yeah, there was some 93 language.
yeah.
There's some F-bombs in there. There were some N-bombs in there.
Well,
I mean,
it was more
it's
of that.
funny. Yeah.
It
yeah.
was there was a lot of the N word coming out of people
Right.
who shouldn't be using it. And that was
It was so 1993, though.
it
Oh,
was.
my God.
It was. I mean,
That's the whole
it was a-
Sicilian scene. That scene
it's
with,
yeah. And that whole scene was good, but it's cringy. It's cringy
Yeah.
to hear the language.
Yeah.
Although I know people speak that way and spoke that way.
they still speak that way.
I know that's why I said
Right.
speak and
Yeah.
spoke. So
Yeah.
I mean, I know that, but it's just it's tough, and
It
I
is.
know he's gotten criticism over some of his language
Yeah.
and situations
Yeah.
because
Okay.
of that.
But 3.5, that's good.
But 3.5. But I mean, I enjoyed it. I enjoyed, you suspend you suspend your rational mind and you watch it. It's just it's basically a fantasy.
Right. Excellent. Excellent. Well, I'm going to go 4.
Ooh.
4 out of 5. I remember seeing this in the movie theater, probably 93, of course.
Mm-hmm.
I think also Reservoir Dogs might have come out in 93 as well.
Yeah, I've never seen it.
Yeah. So I was getting full into the Tarantino. Maybe Pulp Fiction was 93. I can't remember. I can check that. But I was getting full into it. And this one, you add Tarantino and Tony Scott. It's like for me, it's a beautiful blend of thing. By the way, the producer in this, the guy, Sal Rubinek, didn't know that he was portraying the super producer Joel Silver, who Tony Scott had worked with Bruce Willis on The Last Boy Scout. They had a terrible time on this thing.
Right.
So this was kind of his way of, but Saul Rubinek didn't know that he was making fun of him. But then the producer, Joel Silver, stopped talking to Tony Scott based on this portrayal because it was so close to reality.
Oh,
It's
was it?
unbelievable, yeah. So, all right, so let's, 10 questions.
Let's see the questions.
Spin for 10 questions. I'm going to dance, I know. I love doing this. Okay, this is a different take. A favorite family film that you used to watch together with your family.
Okay. With my family. Okay,
Okay,
so
it
when
could
the
be-
kids...
It could be your kids, it could be growing up, but it could be, your...
Growing up, we didn't obviously do much of that. Like, our family was a little bit different.
You guys didn't watch films at all?
Well, we
Not much?
did, but not much. Like, okay, so my dad read to me from Walden every night.
Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay.
So that's kind of the, what I
That
remember.
explains a lot.
It's a lot into perspective, doesn't it?
It does.
So family film. So the kids and I, I'm going to talk about the one my daughter always remembers is that whenever there was a rainy day, we would have what was an indoor picnic, and we would watch that. It was a Stephen King, so terrible, Stephen King miniseries called Rose Red, where they go into
you
this
talk
thing.
about this
and
all
yeah,
the
and,
time.
and I've showed it to you, and you thought it was the stupidest movie
Yeah,
ever.
it's awful.
It's awful. But they would watch it. We'd have a picnic. We'd eat pizza on the floor, and they still, both of them still talk about it. So that was our favorite.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I used to love. I heard someone say this the other day. When they used to watch Johnny Carson with their dad, there was something about hearing your dad laugh at something when you're a kid that makes it super cool that your father's laughing at something that you find funny too.
Oh, okay.
And you look over
Yeah.
at your dad and you're like, oh my God, he thinks this is funny too. It must
Yeah.
really be funny. I guess I got to,
Yeah.
know. And I know there had to have been, growing up, we must have watched, I'm trying to, because I don't have many, Max and I, my oldest
Yeah.
son and I, would watch horror movies together all the time. And as a matter of fact, it got in my divorce because my then wife, his mother, didn't like the fact that he was watching some of these things, but he seems fine. He seems well adjusted. He's in the Army. I don't see any.
He enjoys.
But I'm trying to think if my dad, I'll say this. I don't remember seeing movies with my family. We'd all sit around. Maybe when The Sound of Music came out, or Wizard of Oz was probably, everybody could say Wizard of Oz. But I do have fond memories of my parents going to the movies. Mm-hmm. And I specifically remember them going to see The Godfather.
Uh-huh.
Now, that's 1972, so I'm 11 years old.
Right.
10 years old. And them coming back and talking about The Godfather. Mm-hmm. And I never remember my parents going to see movies. They didn't go see many movies.
Right.
Now, as they got older, I'm hearing them talk about going to see ABBA and all those kind of films. But as a child, they didn't, they were busy. They were
Right,
busy.
they were raising kids.
us. But I do remember them going to see The Godfather and how impressed I was that they were talking about that film. And it was just super cool.
That is cool.
And my dad and my mother talking about a film. And then as I grew up as an adult and saw that film and loved it as well, we were able to have those conversations down the road. It's just, that's my memory I have of, it's not gathering. We didn't gather for Christmas or holidays and have movies that we specifically watched. But that's one I remember them coming home from. And that's a memory I'm going to carry till I'm gone. All right. So we're now going to spin for your next film. I just hope it's a classic, because all these guy films and my films, I want you to have something that's a little classic. Let's see what happens. Don't look here. You look there.
Okay, where am I looking?
You look right straight at that camera. Okay? Because I dance while you... Okay. Mean Girls.
Mean Girls.
Okay, now this is interesting. I think I've seen this once.
Right.
You've never seen this.
No.
Okay.
And my students reference it all the time.
Okay, good. So
I
this will be-
use rhetoric from Mean Girls because they taught it to me. I use it
So you're
to
only using
teach them
from there?
rhetoric.
Interesting.
On Wednesdays we wear pink. We talk about what that means. Why?
Do they have there's a list they have that they write mean things about girls? Is that,
It's
or
called
is
the
it-
Slam Book. But
the Slam Book.
But
So you know that
but
too.
there are sayings, and one of the sayings the kids always bring up is on Wednesdays we wear pink, which is the Mean Girls. So
Okay.
talk about the fact that it's alliteration and it isolates them, shows that they're powerful. So I teach rhetoric through the script of Mean Girls. So,
Oh,
but I've never
interesting. You've never seen it. Oh, so
never
you'll get
seen
some
it.
good context here.
So I'll see if I'm right.
What do you mean you're right?
Like I've been teaching them that the purpose behind these sayings, like what the purpose is behind why the girls say the things they do.
Wow.
But I don't really know if I'm right.
Okay. Well, now it's written by Tina Fey, I think.
I know,
Yeah.
and I love Tina Fey.
Yeah.
And
I can't think of the actresses that are in there right now. I know that Lindsay Lohan.
Amanda.
Okay. Is she in it? Yes, she is. And
but it's based on a book called Queen Bees and Wannabes.
Okay.
And I've read that book, and it's a sociological study of the way girls, pack in it, especially in the middle school to high school era. And so I read the book because I know of some girls that were like victimized as well as the Mean Girls. So I've read the book that it's based on.
Oh.
I know the script because the kids all tell me it, and so now I just have to confirm if all my thoughts are right.
All right, that's good. Now we have to remember we don't watch the new one. There's a musical.
No, I don't want to watch that
So
one.
we
I want
gotta
to watch the
watch the original
original.
Mean
That's
Girls.
the one the girls are talking.
Okay, so this will be fun then.
Yeah, it
See
will
if
be.
it'll
I'm looking forward
confirm
to it.
some of the stuff that you've been doing.
Looking forward to it.
And then you go back to school and you can tell them you
I
saw
can be like,
it.
I finally saw it, kiddos.
Because they're not watching the show. So you'll have to tell them. All right.
they're not.
Well, there you go. Another good one.
Okay.
Next week is Mean Girls.
Okay.
Enjoyed the drink. How was it?
Yeah.
Oh, you did enjoy the drink.
It was very
now,
good.
what do you do with all that fruit at the end?
Well, so the fruit, this isn't like a heavy liquor drink. So usually the fruit absorbs the liquor, so you eat it and the fruit.
So you are going to eat the fruit.
But here there wasn't.
Enough liquor?
No, there was a lot more. I put a lot more sparkling water in there than I did booze.
Well, I went light with my cranberry juice.
You
So.
did. Yeah.
All right. Well, cheers.
Cheers.